What's up everyone, Juan here from Omega Gaming. Today we're doing a tournament report on our OTS weekend. We played an OTS at Game Guys on Saturday, which we got second place at. And we played an OTS at the Adventure Begins on Sunday, which we didn't do so hot at. But this is the deck that I played and the choices that I made, so let's just get into it. So some of these are going to be pretty evident. You play 3 of all the names. I played a pure yummy list. I didn't play any secondary engines. So you have to max out on all the names. You want to see them. It's your combo starters, your extenders, so there's no room for merit there. Other than that, for the monsters in the main deck, for the non-engine, I played 3 copy of Fuas, 2 Perulias, and 2 Trolls. I didn't want to play a hand trap build because I didn't want to give the K9 cards any merit, and since the format is so broad, there's not really a card that hits everything well other than these 3 cards. I also didn't want to max out on them because I wanted to keep the deck at 40, and I'd rather play more board breakers than these cards. But all in all, they all performed pretty decently. The one card that's not here, that's not a lot of people's lists, is Ash Blossom and Joy of Spring. I don't think that card should be played in this deck because mainly the value you get from Ash Blossom is stopping your opponent's Moch armies, which this deck does not struggle against. If you get Perulia, a lot of times you can give them 0 draws, maybe 1. And if you get Fuwalos, you can give them 1, maybe 2. And you can still end on your multiple interruptions because you end on Snatchy at level 1. And sometimes I'm surprised if you open up the Obedience School for the Yummy, or sorry, for the Cupsy, or you open up Cupsy himself. So I didn't want to play Ash. I didn't think it's worth it, and that's my non-engine for the monsters. Now we go to spell cards, and our non-engine was 3 Droplet Prosperity, which is kind of in between of engine, non-engine, Talons, 2 Thrusts, which are the same thing. They're engine, non-engine because you can get Obedience School and Engage, which I did play the Striker package, and they can also get you a Talents to border break. So these were all pretty good for the weekend. I wouldn't change any of these. I don't want to play 3 Thrusts. I didn't want my cards clogging for the most part. And yeah, the ratios were pretty solid there. I tried 1 Chalice for the weekend. I didn't want to commit to a 3rd copy of a different card. And I wanted to try the Chalice just to see how it worked. Every time I drew it, it was pretty solid. So I might consider playing more going forward in this little gap of time before the ban list hits. So all these are pretty good. Other than that, we played 2 Engages and 1 Hornet Drones. This was also a pretty good ratio for me. What I found in testing often was that you open up double Engage or Engage plus Hornet Drones, and that's just 1 less card you can work with. Since this is very much a resource heavy deck, you want all your cards to give you some value. And sometimes you get into a bit of a grind game, or you start drawing cards off the Cupsy when you summon it back with a Synchro, and you don't want to draw dead cards like Engages and Hornet Drones. You want to draw playable cards on your turn so you can break the board and OTK them with the field spell. So these ratios were pretty good for me as well. Don't really care to change any of these cards. So far, everything that I played performed. And going forward, if I keep this list, I'll probably be playing something very similar. The next cards that I played are 3 Obedience School. This is the God card. There's no need to explain it. Minion, and I did play the Croaky. I've seen lists online starting to cut this, but I think it still warrants play. It's still a good card going second when you open it or when you snatch into it to help break the board, that sometimes your deck has a bit of a hard time doing so through their interruptions. And it's just a threat because once you place it, they can't interact with your Yummy cards as freely because it'll just replace for another Yummy monster. And if you don't have Cupsy, it can get you a Cupsy, which gets you an extender. So the card is still in my main deck. It'll probably be in my main deck for a while unless I find reasons not to. And then 2 Yummy Surprise. This is definitely not a one-of. I played 2 this weekend. I just wanted to keep the deck cut down to 40. And I wanted to play a lot of different cards so I can just test the deck out and see how it plays. And 2 was pretty good. I liked opening the card. I searched it obviously always with Cupsy as an interruption or a follow-up. Or the biggest value this card really has is dodging stuff like SPs on your minions or Harsh Scriptors, really any card that banishes. That's the best effect you can use. And that warrants playing multiples of these, because sometimes you open 1, you get the other. You can save 1 to revive a body if they start board wiping you, or to bounce their cards and chain your snatchies, and you can save the other 1 for whatever the first effect wasn't, which oftentimes is, people have figured out now that banishing the minion is game, so you want to just save it for that. Going forward, I might try a 3rd copy because the card does provide maximum value almost every time. So those are all the spells and monsters, all of which were good. None of them were lackluster in any of the games that I played. And then for the traps, it's just 3 Imperms and 3 Purges. These were great. Didn't regret playing them either. I might try the Songs of the Dominators build at some point in the future with the Book of Eclipses and maybe more Forbidden Chalices and stuff like that to see how that version fares against the meta. But this did a good job. I mean, went 4-1-1 in Swiss and then won up until finals where I lost the mirror match due to like a Perulia Fuwood and then Dustard and Ogre. It was just an unwinnable game. But other than that, the deck performed incredibly well. Cards that I didn't play were cards like Called by the Grave. I don't think the card warrants playing this deck, because I guess you don't lose to Ash, you don't lose to the Charmies, and those are really the cards you want to hit with Called by. You can lose to an Imperm sometimes and you can't Called by it. Crossout is a consideration, but it's only valuable whenever you're playing against a deck that has your targets, such as, Talents, Droplets, Thrusts, Purges, and Imperms. And so in the mirror match, it gives you a lot of value, but in any other matchup, it's just kind of a dead card because you're not hitting their Ashes a lot of the times or their Nibs. So that was the main deck, 40 cards, great list, wouldn't change it. If I played this list going forward, but I'm gonna try Board Breakers next. For the extra deck, these are the 6 non-negotiables and the Kagari, obviously, if you play the Striker package. They all come up, since this is a pure version of the deck and not a hybrid, you go through 3 snatches oftentimes on your first turns with a lot of your combos. So these are pretty much staples in all your extra decks. And then for the Link ones, I played Link Spider and Salamander Almirage. This is just for when they nib you, to check that. It works fairly well. And the Almirage comes up a lot of the times when you combo with Engage in a name. You don't want to combo with Engage Hornet Drones and then Kagari at a back place Hornet Drones go into the Synchro, because Imperm is seeing a lot of play going forward, and that line just folds to the Imperm on the Cupsy. Because even if you have the name, any name that's not Cupsy, you just summon it, you make a much bigger board, is pretty much what I'm trying to get to. Versus you can just activate Hornet Drones, normal summon the level 1, make the Snatchy, and then place a few exposed Synchro 2. And then that way, if they try to Imperm your Cupsy, you can just tag out into their Snatchy and the level 1 that you summon. You don't get the extra body, but it plays better into the hand trap, which is why the Almirage came up a lot of times. Also for the, this comes for the Charmies when you draw them. But that was just a line that I played all weekend when I opened up Engage or Hornet Jones plus a name. But this Almirage comes up whenever you open up a hand trap going first, such as Fuwalos or Perulia, and then a name. It just lets you play more cards in your hand than you would have normally by just normal summoning. And SP is just a good card. You could argue that it's flexible as a spot, but it's just good removal, it's a good interruption. And yeah, it helps in a lot of hands when they contact see you and you're not under obedience school lock. This is one of the outs you can have in some situations if they contact see you a little late. Now for the extra deck, play the Metal Marcher and the Starham as an extender. For this weekend, I was still under the impression that you need a Starham whenever you were obedience school locked on your first turn to try to get to the double Herald play. But as I played the deck more throughout the day and the next day I learned that you don't really need it. You can still Metal Marcher on their turn and then just hard make for 3 materials for the second Herald if it comes up. I played 2 Heralds on Saturday and they hardly came up. I would make the first one and then I'd be interrupted, or it just wouldn't be an ideal point to make the second one. And then for the last 4 target, I played Mary Melfi. This card came up a lot now that I play it. It's an interruption on your opponent's turn that's not Herald and that's not, your usual ones. And oftentimes this card isn't seeing a lot of play, so it's hard for your opponent to read that you play it and then to summon it, since you can do it at any point. Really what you want to do is just survive, because when you play your opponent's turn, you're lowering their deck board presence enough where you can still get your follow-up and then kill them on the following turn, and then this helps do that to minimize their presence or their bodies. Overall, very good card. I'd keep playing it going forward. Here, I'd probably cut the second Herald, the Starham. Everything else I would keep, and then I want to try out the Link 2 that came out that sets up quickly from the graveyard, and then potentially another card that the deck's flexible in that regard. Now for the side deck, this is the least fixed card. These cards can all be changed out. None of them were meaningfully added to the deck that requires them to be here, other than Duster and the Deep Air, since I played Thrust. Everything else can be changed out based on the meta, which is going to change in a couple weeks. But for the weekend, I played the 3rd Perulia, which was good for the weekend. I played against a couple Ryzeo decks that the card was good against, a couple Mitsu decks that weren't necessarily Ryzeo decks. Can't remember what else, but the card is just a good card. And then I played the Cyphering package this weekend because it's still a broad format, so I want to make sure that my cards are generic enough and this deck has a bad matchup against Mitsurugi, so you want to keep them off their Murakumo and their prayers. And it also does that by hitting the ritual spell, or Gamma hitting the Habakiri, or hitting the Saji, so they just don't get that engine started. You can play through the Raizo board most of the time, but you just can't play through the Regeki when going second, plus the rest of the cards. Play 2 Lancia. I didn't expect a lot of Malice, so I didn't care to play it much. I don't think I saw any Christrons either. The deck's losing a lot of popularity because, you know, it's due for a ban list upcoming, and people want to play the new cards, so I didn't warrant playing the third copy. I wanted more generic cards in my side deck. And I don't think I saw any Malice at the event. It was 38 players, 6 rounds, and I don't think any of them made top 8. Maybe there was one in the room, but I didn't come across them. I played 2 Floodgates, Gozen and Rivalry. They're just Floodgates, nothing to talk about there. 3 Evenlies, again, just generic. Board removal. The format's so wide right now that there's nothing really that you can commit heavily to. With this deck, you should commit heavily against the Mitsurugi cards, but that's about it. Everything else is manageable. And then 1 Solemn Strike, just as a 15th card. Again, these were all 15 cards that I picked the morning of. Not much thought put into them other than they're independently all really good cards. And they performed well. There wasn't really anything that I missed in the side deck other than maybe Solemn Judgments to not get your back row removed, because a lot of times you end up on the quick play to be able to disrupt your opponent. And then one of the cards that you play, you know, like your D-Barrier or your Imperms or your Droplets or whatever it is. So that is the only card that I could have seen myself playing this weekend that might have made a difference. But my record wasn't bad, and overall the cards performed pretty well. But other than that, the deck had a good showing. Sunday I went to The Adventure Begins. Didn't do well at that event, but that was just my inexperience. The deck played, I just didn't pilot it correctly, so there's not really much I would change in regards to this. And yeah, you know, I'll try to post some more videos up soon. Other than that, y'all have a good day.